Hello and welcome back to Arabic language lessons. This is lesson number 10, the attributes. الدرس رقم 10 الصفات. So first we're saying Assalamu alaikum, and we're going to give a brief overview of what we're going to do in this lesson. So first we're going to get to know the attributes, what they are, and we're going to derive them from roots, like we did in the roots lesson, but this time we're going to do them with attributes. And then after that, we're going to take the word and we're going to put it in a sentence, in a nominal sentence. Just like we promised in lesson 9, that we're going to have examples in the next lesson of nominal sentences. Here we're going to do it. After that, we're going to see if it exists in the Quran and where it is, so you can see it, like it's used. And we're gonna keep repeating that with many examples until we finish like a good amount of them. So first, what is an attribute? It's easy, we can say that it's equivalent to an adjective, but we're sticking to the Arabic meaning, the literal one. The attributes means as-sifat. So those two are, the adjective is, I'm not even sure where does it originate from, but that's what they use in English. They say adjectives. And basically, I found like this is the most basic definition of it without any complications, and this is like straightforward definition of what an attribute is, which is it's a form or format used for exaggeration. You want to exaggerate something. More specifically, an action. You want to exaggerate it. And this is the meaning in Arabic. صيغة مبالغة. صيغة just means form or format. And مبالغة is exaggeration. And we're going to deal with two forms. فعيل and فعول. And those, as you remember in previous lessons, the roots lesson or the fa'al or the maf'ul, we had a template with us, and this is our template in this lesson, or our templates, like we have two. And I've thought about it for a while, like should I just go ahead and give examples of it without telling you why they're different, or should I tell you why it's different, and maybe if I tell you it'd be complicated. But I'm like, no, we could say it in a very basic form, like we can distinguish between the two basically and move on. And so for you, like for now, this is new to you, like the attributes are new. So the distinction, you can note it, like put a note somewhere, but we're not going to deal heavily with these things until future lessons, like when we get into deeper things. But for now, we have this distinction between them. So when it comes to fa'ul, like this template, fa'ul, it's those are two attributes, by the way. Yeah, I said that already. I'll say it again. So those are two forms of attributes. The first one, fa'ul, gives the meaning when it relates to the action doer. As you remember, al-fa'il, the action doer. And the second one, fa'il, gives meaning when it relates to the done upon. Or, if you remember in the previous lessons, maf'ul. So this is the basic distinction between those two formats. And I know, let's get to some examples, and the point will stick when we get to the examples and you start seeing it more and more and you start to get it. And then maybe you can rewind this and see these definitions. But the most important thing is you understand what it is and what it looks like and how to use it, right? Move on to examples. So we have, this is our root, ra, ha, ma. So we're going to have our root here, and we're just going to put the form highlighted at the top to remember that we're dealing with fa'il. And, put this to remember that we're dealing with attributes. So first we have the root here, and then we're gonna have the past form of the root, like the most basic. If you remember from the root lesson, we did something like rahima, then we had yarham, right? And then we had rahim, which is the fa'il, if you remember. So don't confuse rahim with rahim, right? This is an attribute in the form of fa'il. So it's an attribute, rahim. So rahima, bestowed mercy in the past. Fahuwa rahim. He is, like this is fahuwa, he is rahim, merciful. You can see how it became an attribute, like it's part of their character in a sense. Rahim, merciful. And when we put it in an example, we say Ar-rajulu rahim. The man is merciful. And this is a jumla ismiya, a nominal or a name sentence. Nominal sentence, right? Jumla is sentence. Ismiya is the name of the sentence, which in English they say nominal. Ar-rajulu rahim. And again, I intentionally put the shadda here so we can practice the previous lessons. Ar-rajulu rahim. Let's say it again. Ar-rajulu rahim. This is the meaning. The man is merciful. And you're giving him so a merciful attribute. And we see it in the first verse or the first ayah in the Quran. Very first, when you open the book. Bismillahi ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rahim. And you know the shadda is there because of the AL, if you remember. Ar-Rahim. Rahim. Ar-Rahim. Because the harf, the letter Ra is a sun letter. If you remember the previous lesson. Ar-Rahim. And we begin this in each surah except one, Tawbah. There's no Basmala in Tawbah. And this is called the Basmala, by the way, because it begins with Bism. So you say Al-Basmala. And now when you see it, you know where it comes from, because you know the AL, the Alif Lam, how it works, and you know the meaning of the word, and you know the root of the word. Like this is the root. And you also know how to say it properly. A little bit of tajweed here, right? Ar-Rahim, because of the AL. So great. Let's move on to another example. And we're still dealing with fa'il, and we're going to deal with it. I'll tell you when we switch to fa'ul. So our root is alif, lam, mim, and in the past form, alama, alama, and this is what it means, he or it pained. And when you want to make it an attribute, you say alim. And we have the ya in red to distinguish it between it and the root. It's the new letter added to the root to make it fa'il. The same form as fa'il, alim, which means painful. And we put it in a nominal sentence. Adhabun alim. And remember, we did not put the AL, the alif lam, because we're giving an attribute. Like we're allowed to do that. And this is just, some Arabs making those rules to, make this the language better. Al-adhab, al-alim, that's the most proper one according to these scholars of Nahu. But they say it's okay to not add it if you have an attribute afterwards. So a painful punishment, because painful is an attribute. It's okay to have it an unknown, like a painful punishment, like it's not known. Like, what are you talking about specifically, right? Unless, you know, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna, you know, make up stuff. Let's just say it. عذاب أليم. عذاب أليم. Painful punishment. And we have it in the Quran, in the cow, number 10. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. See, the sentence is there actually. Sentence is there. In the cow 10. عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. We have our nominal sentence. Yes. Let's move on to another example. And this is our root. qa, da, and ra. Ra. And in the past form, qadara means like he was able. And you want to make it an attribute to someone, you say qadir. Qadir. And you can see we're still dealing with the same form, fa'il, our template. And when we replace the 3-letter root with the 3-letter in fa'ala, right, becomes qadir, means he's able. And when we put it in a sentence, Rabbun qadir, Rabbun qadir, an able Lord. And Rabb has many meanings. It means like sustainer, can mean you know, the one that take cares of. Like in Arabic we say Rabbat al-manzil, means the lady that take cares of the house, like the head lady of the house in a sense, the one that, you know, manages the house. And yeah, so it means like sustainer, the one that the Lord. You can be like Lord in English has similar meaning to Rabb. So I feel like it's okay to use it because it has like similar meaning when you think about it. So an able Lord, Rabbun Qadir. And we have it in the table spread 19, Al-Ma'idah 19. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. Qadir. Able as an attribute. Moving to another example, and our root is ja, ma, a, ja, ma, a, and in the past it's jama'a, jama'a. If you remember in the roots lesson we dealt with this form, he collected, and when we give it as an attribute, we say jami', jami', and we use it as like it's used in Arabic as all, or in their collective, or collectively, like they came collectively, ataw jami'a, like all of them in their collective. So it's an attribute of the group that they're together, if that makes sense. But you know, you'll find things like that because it's a different language. But jami' as an attribute, which is I'm not sure, like if you go if in English you say all as an attribute, but it depends, I guess, on the sentence. Like that's why I put collective or collectively as an adjective. It could work. Let me know in the comment section. But in Arabic it's an attribute, and when we put it in a nominal sentence, جميع السلاح, like the collective weapons, or all the weapons, all the weapons, or the collective weapons, or the weapons in their collective, like when they're together, as an attribute. So we have it in the Moon 44. أم يقولون نحن جميعا منتصرون. And جميع here is an attribute. It's the same as this one. Alright, so let's move to another example from the root alima. So again, the root is a, li, أو لا, a, la, ma, and in the past form, alima, like he knew. And when we make it an attribute in the form of fa'il, becomes alim, alim, and alim is knowledgeable. So he is alim, he is knowledgeable. He is alim, knowledgeable, right? And when we put it in a nominal sentence, we get rajulun alim, means a knowledgeable man. Rajulun alim, rajulun alim. And we see it many times in the Quran. And one example in Al-A'raf, قال الملأ من قوم فرعون إن هذا لساحر عليم. So the sentence, the normal sentence here, ساحر عليم. Sahir is a magician. Yeah, I think it could be magician, and you can see it, it's in the form of fa'il. Like see here, if you remember, fa'il. Remember fa'il? It's just a small review. Fa'il, sahir. You can see, sahir, fa'il. So it's in the form of fa'il. And we can see in fa'il, remember? Sahir. It's that one. So Sahir, Alim, a knowledgeable wizard or magician. Anyhow, Araf is called the heights, and this ayah is 109 according to Quran.com. That's the English nickname. Alright, so let's move to another example from the root kha and la and fa. And in the past we have khalafa. Khalafa. Khalafa is descendant or succeeded or came after. All means similar thing, or this it all relates to this word, descendant or came after or succeeded. And when we make it an attribute in the form of fa'il, remember fa'il becomes khalif. Khalif. Khalif means a successor or inheritor, or the one that's descendant, like as an attribute. So when we put it in a nominal sentence, al-waladul khalif, the inheriting son. So inheriting is a attribute of the son, like, if that makes sense. Al-waladul khalif, the inheriting son, as opposed to maybe another son that's not inheriting, you know. So an attribute. That's what we have to emphasize, that khalif is an attribute of the form of fa'il. Yes. And we see the khalafa, since we haven't dealt with it, I'm like, why not, you know, show it in the Quran in the same meaning as descendant. فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ. And this is from Maryam 59. فَخَلَفَ means came after them, and بَعْدِهِمْ, that's after them. But khalafa is like came after. Came after, yeah. Came after and the stop. Them is here. So came after. And when we see khalif, but there's another letter that's added to it that makes that deals with something else that we will deal with later. But for now, we will just focus on the red part, and the other part is for another time. إذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. And we dealt with جاعل before in another lesson, if you remember. And now we're dealing with Khalif. 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 As we've mentioned, successor or a descendant in the attribute form. And yeah, it's actually a definition like this. The sentence, I got it from the dictionary, and it means the one that inherits, al-walad al-khalif, the inheriting son. Moving to another example from this root, ha, ka, ma, and in the past form, hakama means judged in the past. And when we put it in a attribute form, صيغة فعيل becomes hakim, hakim, which means wise. And I've noticed there's disagreements in dictionaries or ma'ajim. So I looked into others. I didn't just look at the one that we have. And some say that no, hakim is from the form of hakuma, hakuma. But I felt like I agreed with the other opinions, because hakuma means that he became wise. So I felt like no, it should be like hakama is the origin, and then from it comes hakim, because the meaning is related more here. I feel like hakuma, meaning hakuma shakhs, meaning became wise. Sara hakiman feels like it's something that comes after you deal with hakim. Do you know what I mean? Like who comes first? So I went with the opinion that says hakama. I don't know. I just thought I should tell you that. It's just added information. Hakim. Let's deal with it. And we put it in a sentence. Ar-rajulu hakim. The man is wise. And I added the al this time. Ar-rajulu hakim. The man is wise. And we have it in Sons of Omran. Al is like descendants of, like this one, when it's like al and it's separated, it's not like that, the one that we deal with. I just thought you might glance at it and it's like, oh, what is this? So I'm just telling you. It means sons of or descendants of, a family of, like something like that. So that's why I'm like, instead of just saying Al-Umran, since we're learning Arabic, so I translated to Sons of Omran. Anyhow, so we have it in the ayah, وَالذِّكْرِ الْحَكِيمِ وَالذِّكْرِ الْحَكِيمِ, and it's right there, Hakim. Alright, and yeah, this is a definition I took from the dictionary that I thought was the one I was going to go with. Alright, so we have another example, and it's a word that we dealt with. Oh yes, now we're switching to fa'ul. So we kind of finished the examples that I have for fa'il, this form fa'il. And now we're going to the other one, which is fa'ul. Fa'ul. Okay, so this is what I was referring to. So we finished the second one, fa'il, the second one. And now we're dealing with the first one. I have no idea why I went backwards, but it's because I dealt with this one first. So yeah, when we I make this lessons in pieces. But anyways, so now we're gonna deal with the first one, this one, when the meaning relates to the action doer, fa'ul. All right, you guys ready? All right, let's go. So we're gonna do 4 examples from the form fa'ul, صيغة fa'ul, when we're dealing with attributes. And you will notice that we've dealt with these roots in the root lesson. Like if you review the root lessons, you're like, yeah, I've seen this word before and I've seen this root. Yes, I've got them all from there, just to put things in perspective. Hopefully in the next lesson I will show you, you know, a suggestion on how to compile these words that you learn in an Excel form, in an Excel file, or a number file. All right, let's go. So from sha, ka, ra, like those three letter root, we got shakara, which means thanked in the past. And from it, when we make an attribute, it becomes shakur, grateful. Shakur becomes an adjective or an attribute of the person. So you say, when we put it in a nominal sentence, rajulun shakur, a grateful man. Rajulun shakur, grateful man. All right. And we have it in the Quran in verse 5, خمسة, in Ibrahim. إن في ذلك لآيات لكل صبار شكور. صبار شكور. Shakur. It's exactly the one we are dealing with. Grateful. Grateful. Shakur. See? Fa'ul is the template form, and it's shakur. When we replace, I know I say this a lot, I just feel that if you don't get it the first time, you'll get it the second time or the third. Repetition is good, so that's why I keep doing this, because it's very important for Arabic to understand that we're replacing the first letter from the form fa'ala, like see, fa'ala, see fa'ala, and when you have it like that, so the sha takes place of the fa, the ka takes place of the a, and the ra takes place of the lam in the template, as you can see. So sha took the place of the fa, and ka took place of the a, and the last letter took place of the lam. Ra took place of the lam. You see? It's very important. All right, so we finished with this one. We got, I think, 3 more to go. So again, yeah, we dealt with all these roots, remember? In the previous lesson, the root lesson. So ka and fa and ra, we have in the past form kafara, 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 means he disbelieved or he became ungrateful. And we have many meanings that we put in that lesson. So he is, when we want to make it an attribute about him, kafur, kafur, which means ungrateful, or like a disbeliever in an adjective sense, like he's always disbelieving, you know? So it becomes like an attribute of the person. As we have in this example, rajulun kafur means an ungrateful man, or a person that is always ungrateful to Allah in the sense, in the religious sense, you know. And we have it in the Quran, and it's in Al-Hajj, the pilgrimage, yeah, the pilgrimage, the pilgrimage, yeah, that's right. All right, so the pilgrimage, oh yeah, 38. Go to the pilgrimage 38, you'll find it there. إن الله لا يحب كل خوان كفور. We'll deal with خوان in another lesson, but for now, إن الله لا يحب كل خوان كفور. كفور. So Allah does not love the khawan, which is betrayal or betrayer, or treacherous, like a treacherous person. So Allah does not love the treacherous and the ungrateful. All right, we got one more, I think one or two more to go. 2 more. All right. Ghafa, Gha and Fa and Ra. So in the past, we had it in a previous lesson. Ghafara means has forgiven. Ghafur is either like often forgiving or forbearing. Someone who's often forgives, like tolerant, very forgiving. So we went with often forgiving, often forgiving. Ghafur, Ghafur, in the form of fa'ul, fa'ul. Right? Do I have to do the connection? I think we did it enough in this lesson. Maybe in the next lesson I'll go over it again. Like, replace those, just to have the point clear. And after, all right, let's say it 2 more times. Ghafur, 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 Ghafur. And when we put it in a nominal sentence, Al-Ummu Ghafur. Al-Um is the mother. By itself is mother. Looks like this. Means mother. Ab is father. So mother, ab father. All right. So al-ummu ghafur. The mother is often forgiving, or the mother is forbearing, or often forgiving. Let's go with often forgiving. Yeah, often forgiving. Al-ummu ghafur. Al-ummu ghafur. فَإِنْ انْتَهَوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. We dealt with Rahim in a previous lesson, in a previous example in this lesson, and now we're dealing with Ghafur. Ghafur. And yeah, I keep forgetting that. This is from the cow. That's the nickname of the chapter or surah. 192. Look, the number 9 looks similar, right? Yeah, you guys call those Arabic numbers. I've only known this when I was in college. Like, oh, you call them Arabic numbers? Great. Anyways, so we dealt with Ghafur. Got 1 more to go. And this is, I couldn't find it in the, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second after we do the example. So from the root, sabara, sabara, remember, was patient. Now if we're gonna give it as an attribute to someone, we say sabur, means is patient, or patient as an attribute of the person. And we put it in a normal sentence, rajulun sabur, rajul sabur, rajulun sabur, a patient man. And you might notice that there isn't a example in the Quran. The word in this form is not in the Quran. And I've noticed like some ancient scholars and current ones, they debate whether it's a name of Allah or not. And there's many schools of thoughts about this one. But some say no, it's not a name of the Almighty Creator. Some say it is, and it's a different issue altogether. It doesn't relate really to our lesson, but that's why I just I used it for man, just in case you have a different school of thought. Anyways, so we finished this lesson. So I think before we end up, I'm just gonna tell you what we're gonna do. Yeah, before we go, I'm gonna tell you something. Do you guys remember Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali, what he said about Kalam al-Arabi? So we've spent a lot of time with those two, and we've only spent little time in this one, I feel. But I think in the next lesson, we will go and deal with a few conjunctions, like letters, and maybe go into a little bit more detail I feel like we were ready to go into these things. But yeah, we spent some time with the ism, the names, and with the actions as well. And we finished the action sentence and news sentence, which is the nominal sentence. And yeah, I think we did well so far. And the next lesson we'll go into this section. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to tell you. So until then, I tell you, مع السلامة. And yes, don't forget to subscribe, so you know when the new lessons come. And stay connected to this channel. مع السلامة.